Okay guys, today we're going to have a little bit of a book recommendation and a small chat on a very new subject for myself. This week someone came into the shop and offered me a ceramic vase. It was an arts and crafts vase, and I made them an offer on it and they left, and obviously I didn't offer nowhere near enough. Now I've later done some research and it turned out it was quite a rare piece by the Della Robbia factory in Birkenhead. Now, it's just outside Liverpool and it was set up by Harold Rathbone in 1894 and only ran for 12 years. It was shut down by 1906. He'd run out of money, gone bankrupt. Whatever way you want to look at it, he couldn't afford to keep the business going. Now, every single piece was set up, how can I explain this? It was in the manner of William Morris. Everything was with as little machine or manufacturing mass produced as possible. It was all handmade, unique items. So every single piece was an individual unique item. Now William Morris was out and out no machinery at all, whereas Della Robbia did sometimes use a lathe to finish off a vase. But they are all unique items. They're all hand thrown. 99% of them are decorated in sgraffito work, which is like scratched in decoration, and then hand painted later. There were a few produced with tube lining and slipware, but literally just a few, and they were dating after 1902. They were trialled by a gentleman I came across from Dalton. Now the Della Robbia pottery was, as I say, was set up in Liverpool, or just outside Liverpool in Birkenhead. It was as much a school as it was a pottery factory. Basically, the potters went there quite young and inexperienced, and then they learned as they went along. And it was classed, what Harold Rathbone liked was you could see the progression of the artists learning their skill throughout their pieces. Now in its day, the Della Robbia pottery was considered nothing more than bric-a-brac. Harold Rathbone travelled many times to Italy and he absolutely loved the original Della Robbia pottery of the 1600s from Italy, and that's what he's copied or took his inspiration from for his works. Now, as I've said, they're almost all sgraffito work. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's a scratched design into the vase or plate. And every piece is unique. The only things that are not unique are tiles and panels. They're the only things they've done numbers of the same design. Now, I bought a book on Della Robbia pottery this week after making the mistake, and I must admit it's not a bad book at all. I'm going to give you a little brief glimpse of the book now and the ISBN number and everything. Now I'm on page 73. That is all I am. I'm on page 73, and what I tend to do is, as I'm going along, I jot down little notes. Now, little hints for when I'm out looking. Now, the things I've got down is it's produced from red clay. Now, originally they used clay that was locally sourced, but it was absolutely useless, which meant failure rate was astronomical in the beginning. Then they started bringing clay in from Staffordshire. Then they sort of, the red clay had like an overglazed white clay on there ready for the painting and the scratch design. The glaze is almost like a very high gloss lead glaze. It almost looks wet, still looks wet when you look at it. Sgraffito decoration, as I've said, it's never ever printed. If you get a piece that says Della Robbia and it's a printed design on it, it is out and out fake. It's never printed way, guys. It's always all handmade, hand painted, things like that. Now, one tip I did learn in this book, well, all this has come from this book, but one really good tip, and I've actually handled the stuff before. I handled a vase back some time ago, and I was looking at it, and it was dipped in a green glaze or turquoise glaze, and you could just make out the underlying hand-painted and scratched pattern in there. I didn't realise that that is a Della Robbia second. Basically, it was so costly to go through the potting and the decorating, and when they fired them, if they messed up on the painting, then what they would do is dip the entire thing into a green glaze to cover it all. Now that was done as a saving grace, if you like, as a way of saving the ruined article, but in itself now that is a really desired effect, where you've got this green glaze and you can see the underlying decoration of the previous idea. So that's a good one to know, because I've actually handled stuff like that and not realised what it was. Now they're marked with the Della Robbia mark, which is like a little ship with a DR, and I'll show you the marks in a bit. But they also have a potter's mark, an artist's mark, who is the painter, and a date. Or more often than not, that's what they'll have. Later on, Harold Rathbone started letting the potter do the painting as well. But originally it was the male's done the potting, the female's done the painting. So you'd have a potter's mark and an artist's mark. Later on, you could just find the one mark of a combination who the people had done them both. Now, most, if not all, of the pieces, the Della Robbia pieces, have a greeny blue or turquoise in them in the decoration, and that became known as their trademark Della Robbia turquoise. So they've used that on almost all their pieces. You'll see the same turquoise green or turquoise blue colour used throughout them all. He was quite adamant on that. Now, quality control wasn't consistent, so you get some really rough pieces, and then you get some amazing pieces. That's probably why the in the day the Della Robbia was considered nothing more than bric-a-brac. But now, genuinely now, it is prized up there with Pilkington, Ruskin. What can I say? He worked alongside illustrators like Walter Crane, William Morris. He was best friends or very friendly with the Ruskins. So yeah, there's loads of information, and I'm only, as I say, up to page 73, and I've already got all that, and I got another one over here. Where are we? Yeah, I think I've talked about all of them. Now, I'm not an expert in this by any means. It's a new subject for me to learn. But already, in 73 pages, I've picked up all these little tips. And what I'll do, I'll jot all these down in a little notebook then. And Della Robbia will be one that I learned and I'll look for. Now, this is the book I've purchased. Readily available on eBay, guys. I paid £28 for it. Some sellers asking as much as 50 and 60. So do your digging round. Mine come for £28. And I'm going to give you a little look at the book now. Just a brief flick through. Personally, I'd recommend you get the book because I'm really having an understanding and an appreciation of the Della Robbia pottery in Birkenhead. It's something I was unaware of. You can't know it all, and in this business you're learning every day. And I'm going to spend the next couple of weeks reading. But have a look at the book. Okay, so here we go. It's the Della Robbia pottery 1894 to 1906 by Peter Hyland. Excuse me. Right then, so if we have a little look here, it talks about, you got the background, the founding of the Della Robbia pottery, premises and method, first period of business, second period. You got a lot of the history. You got the final years. Now, considering this factory was only going for 12 years, he had some real involvement in some of the massive names of the time. Here's the ISBN, and I will give it to you again at the end, which is here. Now, obviously, you got your introduction, and this is quite an extensive introduction. Talks about the Rathbone family throughout the 18th century, all the way up, coming through in the 19th century and so on. The founding of the Della Robbia pottery, talks about how he got his inspiration from Italy and things like that, his workforce. So you got all that, you got all the history, you got examples then of the works produced at Della Robbia. And to be totally honest with you, I really have enjoyed this. Some reference books are stupidly difficult to read. And And I must admit, there are some instances in this book where some of the words are, well, you need a dictionary. Or I do anyway. Nevertheless, guys, it has been a pretty relatively easy and fluid read. It's been flowing quite well, and I've really enjoyed having the read. But if you're like me and you struggle sometimes with these reference books, reading like stereo instructions, it actually isn't too bad. Then it's got all the history. You come across, then you've got the Della Robbia pottery marks. It talks about all the marks that they used. Then you come across here, it's got the artist's marks and potter's marks. So we're talking, it's a really, really informative book. Again, I'm going to give you the ISBN again. Now, this is a large hardback book, guys. It's a big book. Certainly larger than A4 size and a decent thickness. You get your money's worth. Now, obviously, in addition to the book, you can find a lot of information on Google, as I always say. The book cost me £28. So far, it's been a really good read, and because it's been an easier read, a lot of it has stayed with me, and I'm remembering a lot of what I've read, which is good. There are a couple of passages where it's just bombarding you with dates, and I think you get like 15 or 20 dates in one paragraph at one point. It's too much to take in, but overall, it's a really good book, a really good read. Obviously, he knew his stuff, and it's an area to look for. I'm going to show you a couple of prices and a couple of examples on the internet now of pieces that have sold or up for sale. I saw a piece recently sell on the TV. I'm not sure if it was Flogit or one of those types, and they had £800 for a charger. One on a decent sized plate, £800. It's a lot of money. But take a look at, we'll have a look on eBay now. Okay, as usual, I've searched eBay, sold listings highest first. Now, we instantly come to this Della Robbia Birkenhead vase, 8.5 inches tall, so you're not talking a large vase. Looking at this one, it looks very much like I was just talking about, where they've done a decoration, the painting's gone wrong, so they've dipped it in the green glaze. I could be wrong, but we'll have a good look at it now. But £453 or best offer, they took an offer, but it's sold. All the rest of this is Italian. There's no other arts and crafts period Della Robbia. So we're going to open this one up and we'll see the original listing. There we go. So let's open it up. So you can see this may have been a green one originally, but I think this is more likely going to be what we just discussed, where they made a mistake and it's become a second, where they've literally just dipped it in a green glaze to hide all the imperfections of the painting. You still get the scratched in design, but it all looks green with a bit of iridescent of the other colours coming through. So that's what I honestly believe this one is. I could be wrong. Could have been intended to be green, but unlikely. Now there's the mark for the Della Robbia. Now somewhere on there should be a date as well, according to the book. But you got the Della Robbia and the initials. So, but that's just one of them. We'll have a look now. Now that was Google. So if I went back to eBay, if I remember right, there wasn't a single one actually up for sale on eBay currently. That's how rare this stuff is. Now you will find it, but bearing in mind it's only 12 years of the factory. There's nothing. Not a single piece of the Birkenhead Della Robbia up for sale. Now they've put that as a Della Robbia vase, but that's clearly not a vase, that's a plate. Now that looks about right. It's got a scruffito design on that, but the description's clearly for a different object. So I don't know what this one is. So this could be Della Robbia. It's got the turquoise glaze they were talking about, but it's got a really unusual mark. So I'm going to have to do more research on that one, because the marks are little ships. So I'm going to have to research that one. But the description and title don't match the item anyway. They got down to vase. That's clearly a plate. So rather than that, there's nothing else there whatsoever. It's all Italian. They put that plaque down as a possible, I think. Arts and Crafts Movement, Della Robbia style. Let's have a look at it out of curiosity. Now, Della Robbia was a red clay, so it's not going to be Della Robbia. That's a white clay. So maybe in style, but it's not going to be Della Robbia. Because Della Robbia was the red clay, and then they dipped her in a white. So, as an antique dealer or general dealer, I'm trying to learn something new every single day. Your books really are worth their weight in gold, guys. £28. Now, when I go out now, I'm going to be looking for this stuff. Now, I'm forever seeing this sgraffito design stuff everywhere. And to be honest with you, I don't even turn it over. I think it's that cheap Deruta that you'd find everywhere. And genuinely, I have handled some of the pieces with the green glaze over the top of it. I got it in my head. I can remember handling some of the stuff. So it goes to show lack of knowledge, again, where I've left pieces there that are worth good money. Now, I'm not 100% on the values, but I can tell you now the values are not going to be cheap. So if you see that sgraffito design and that, turn it over and you're looking for a ship. But genuinely, I'd recommend the book. It's been a good book and I'm still enjoying the read. It'll take me about 2 weeks to get through it because I'm reading it in between people coming in the shop on quiet moments. So I'll get through it in the next couple of weeks, and hopefully then once I take my notes, put them in my little pocket book that comes with me, and if I find something at the car boot sale and I think I know that, and I'll double check, and it'll have all the checklists basically in there for Della Robbia. It's a new name for me, and I tell you what, shockingly it's a massive name. I don't know how I haven't come across it already before, but either way, glad I have now. Glad I got the book, and hopefully you'll do some research on there and you'll find yourself that this is a very highly prized arts and crafts movement potter that you want. Guys, I hope it helps you. I really do. As I said, I'm not an expert. If I've made any mistakes, I've tried to give an accurate a description as I've understood it so far. But it's just something worth researching and looking out for, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Bye for now.